Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to another fantastic World Cup show match here today. And Dex, two teams that we've become quite a little familiar with over the last few months. Team Puerto Rico taking on Team Costa Rica. And I'm excited to see both these squads here today. Costa Rica, a team that we got especially familiar with a couple of their show matches a couple weeks back. Puerto Rico, though, haven't seen them in a little bit of time. I remember way back, just back in October, when we saw them play in the Copa Americana alongside Team Costa Rica. It's glorious to see them both here, and I'm excited to see how well they both can do today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Costa Rica has definitely been one of those teams that, well, like you said, we've seen a lot. They definitely have been one of the teams that has really impressed us here a lot as well. A lot of good players. And really, up until they met Argentina, they didn't drop a single map for the most part. Argentina was actually the first one to take a map, actually take multiple maps off them in one of these international friendlies. Puerto Rico, though, coming into this game, you look at some of the names on this team, you know a decent amount of them, but it's gonna be really interesting to see them actually be on the same squad here together because we know what to really expect from Costa Rica. But Puerto Rico, on the other hand, again, it's been a while since we have seen a lot of these players, especially on this team. So it's going to be something where I think this first map is going to be very important for them, not only just to get a baseline set, but also just to see how much they improved throughout the rest of this series.
Yeah, 100%. I'm especially excited to see some of these players that obviously we are quite familiar with, especially these Costa Rican players that we've gotten to know for quite some time. But it'll be really interesting to see how a lot of them have developed in recent times because I remember seeing Kitso, Artorias, and Kale to that extent, but it's obviously been a little bit of time as our committees have been decided for these two countries that they have to narrow in on the 7 for their roster. And to be fair, with no official announcements coming through on rosters yet for these squads, honestly, this, in a sense, is still important for them to decide, hey, how do they perform against these other teams? How well can they do here today? It's going to be really exciting to see, obviously, a couple other people in the spectators that we've seen previously play as well, so nothing but excitement for this game. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic time. Now, this is going to be a first to 3 today, as opposed to some of the others that ended up being first to 4s, but excited for it nonetheless. These two teams know how to go the distance, but in recent times, Costa Rica has been kind of the dominant team here in Central and South America when it comes to these show matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, their only really slip ups have been against Argentina. I believe outside that they've only lost one other map, but they've looked like I said, maybe one of the better teams that we've seen so far. And like you said, even though we're still in the preliminary phase for a lot of these teams, they seem to have a very strong core here, which especially this early on, I think is only a benefit for them because they can really start building up a lot of good chemistry leading up to the qualifiers, leading up to those knockouts or the knockout rounds for them here. Puerto Rico, though, again, a lot of familiar names here. First time we're seeing them, probably not the first time they're actually scrimming or playing against a team here, but this is a much different environment than what a normal scrim would be. Because, like you said, Hunter, it's basically a normal series environment, first to 3, so best of 5, unless we get a tie or a draw on a map, which is definitely possible. Definitely possible. Yeah. But again, I expect this one to be a very fun and very honestly a good series between these two. I could see it really going the distance. And honestly, if it doesn't, it just feels like to me that Costa Rica would end up probably being the team that would win this one just based off what we've already seen from them. Like I said, they've been one of the teams that has really impressed us so far.
Yeah, they have been extremely impressive. Up till recent times, had never lost a map in one. I believe it was Panama in their last exchange where they managed to take a map away from them for the very first time in Panama. Obviously, excited to see how they're going to form as well. As at least for the moment, potentially ready to head into this next map. I'm gonna wait just a quick moment to just make sure that everything is good to go as it should. As you know, don't normally start an escort all the time, but I'm sure we'll see here very shortly as to what the case will be.
Yeah, it looks like right now we're also getting the bans coming in. It looks like Costa Rica was banning out the Diva which does leave Puerto Rico now to make a ban to something else here. So there's a lot of options that they could go with here. You could get rid of the Vendetta. I feel like that's always a strong one. You could get rid of a support. I mean, Lucio, maybe even Ana, Brig, especially for this map, would make a lot of good sense just for both of them here.
Yeah, it really would. D.Va has been a critical character, I think, for a lot of the South American and Latin American teams that have kind of relied on it a little bit. And to be fair, that's not a bad thing whatsoever. Honestly, that D.Va is just a strong fixture right now. I don't blame them for not wanting to have to deal with it at all.
Yeah, you see the other band coming in here now for Puerto Rico. Going to be Cassidy coming out from them. So especially on a map like this, Cassidy and other those sharpshooters or hit scans like the Ashe, the Freya, the Soj, the Widow definitely find some value, but Cassidy, especially in close corner fights, is a little bit more reliable than those other ones here. So getting that out of the way early on is actually, I think, a really good move. But you see coming out of the gate, both these teams going to be rocking with Winston. Costa Rica, though, actually showing us as the Jetpack Cat instead of the normal Brig you would normally see with this backline. A little bit interesting from them. But same thing on the other side for Puerto Rico, purely showing us the Wu Yang, which we've seen a little bit more often here as of late, Hunter.
Yeah, we definitely have seen quite a bit more often for that matter right here. But hey, as a fellow Winston lover, love to see the match between the two going into this one right now. And we're getting the cat early on as well from Benji, which is going to be extremely interesting to see how well that actually gets played out the gate here. But as things are going right now, rallying for a little bit of that high ground, as for the moment being that you're looking for Cal to be that big person, but it's Onder that's going to get that first pick.
Yeah, I think I might have to do that. But right now, I mean, you already see the next fight kind of getting set up here. Arsene just kind of taking a lot of space here against Ari Torres here. And now, again, you're just looking for that back and forth. Puerto Rico up to a really good start here, but Papa Joe getting taken out early.
Yeah, 100% you are definitely ahead. But it is really good to see in this instance right here as being tagged this early. Obviously, it's a little bit on the rough side. Way here. But obviously, with an early pick like that, it does make things a little bit more on the rough side. But you still have the ability to pull this one back around, even though Wed being taken care of does make an issue for you. You're simply going to have to back out and make sure Artorias alive.
I mean, right now you see Puerto Rico just backing up really quickly here, but they have to kind of get back fast here. But you lose. Actually, you find kicks out here. That's the perfect opportunity now for Puerto Rico to get this ball rolling. You have a slight advantage, knowing that the backline's going to be a little bit safer in this fight.
Yeah, 110% right here. Just trying to move forward, trying to get that cap over. They get off momentarily as they honestly probably could have capped it in that instance right there, but that's going to be enough to stop them there on the spot as eventually the cap goes through here with 4:35 on the clock.
But, I mean, hey, good start here with Puerto Rico. I think, again, a lot of the questions are we haven't necessarily seen this team since Copa Americana, so I want to see how they would play, how they would react, especially to a team like Costa Rica, where we have a lot of high hopes for this team and a lot of good praise for this team as well. I'm really looking at Benji now. I think this that Jetpack Cat is not necessarily finding the value you're looking for here. You're already seeing a lot of ultimates being invested here, and Catnap is out as well.
Yeah, no, 100% at the end of the day, this is going to be really cool to see as things are already going back and forth. You see the commitment right there from Arsene to kind of let this promo rage go, give themselves a little bit more room, and hey, it's working out beautifully. Got her a second, just needs to get a little bit more sustainability, but Wed wants to keep this fight going with that consideration. And then you would have caused everybody from Puerto Rico to back out, but again, it's them doubling down, going in with that nano, eventually find the separation over onto Wed. You would think the Bob would slow things down as Artorias is going nuclear in the backline, trying to get the finish onto Onder, and unfortunately just can't get the finish.
Onder has been doing really good so far throughout this entire map. As playing this Ashe as well, especially with Kel on the other side, they've been able to find a lot of value here early on. Same thing for Arsene. I think Puerto Rico's been off to a really good start. A really smart plays as well as, oh, Papa Joe, say goodbye to you here as Kixo going to try to keep this point contested here.
Yeah, trying their darndest to be able to do so right here. Remember, 3 minutes left on the clock here. Trying to get in on this one right now. Eventually, need to make it to the point, but it's just Artorias and Wed, the last one surviving, as it's going to cap over. And Puerto Rico looking great so far. Still around 4.5 minutes on the clock. Looking fantastic getting started.
Yeah, off to a really great start, and they've been impressing me in a lot of these fights, taking that initiative first. I feel like especially in this early on in a series and this early on in really a lot of these team formations, it's good. You want to take these early engagements, you want to take these early fights because you have the sustainability by both these teams to be able to necessarily back out very quickly. But you look over at the ultimates, Blakey's going to have that pulse bomb, Purely going to have the title blast as well, so you can really see this Puerto Rican squad here go very, very quick into this next fight.
110% you can, and with Blakey's down early, it does make it really rough, and at that point, you would be able to pull it back. Victorious going down, it takes away so much from them. You see the aggression out from Puerto Rico, seeing the blood in the water, and now they're already in that one-fight territory. Arsene needs to stay alive, though, for them to have a chance at finishing this one out, but somehow, someway gets the care, and it's still hanging in there.
Arsene's really impressed me so far throughout this entire round, especially mirroring Artorias on the other side. They've done a really good job. Now look at the ultimates here. You're going to see a lot of ultimates come up here for Puerto Rico. Almost everything outside of Title Blast, but Arsene going to start off with the final ring.
Yeah, Mvani is getting over on the card. Less than 2 minutes left. The Bob out there, and unfortunately, nobody can get out there for the touch. So, I mean, if you're a Puerto Rican fan, this is as hot as they could have possibly started. 3 minutes on the clock.
Switching sides.
Yeah, Hunter, again, whenever we see an Exort map like this end with over 2 minutes, you normally say, wow, that was an incredible round. 3 minutes is almost insane, almost unheard of a lot of times, especially on Watchpoint Gibraltar. Even though I know this map has definitely had some changes in the last 10 days,
yes,
it's still incredible to see a team actually be able to complete it that fast. And Puerto Rico as well. Like I said, a lot of the members on this team really playing in sync with each other. They were taking initiative, taking space. Costa Rica, it seemed like they really struggled with it at times. Artorias, who's normally been a very reliable player that we've seen in a lot of the other show matches, kind of was just falling by the wayside. Arsene was having a great round. That support line as well for Costa Rica. Benji and Wed, we've seen in the past in all these series really play to a high level, but in that round, they just were kind of being out there by Arsene, by Flakies. Purely was doing a good job on the Wu Yang as well. Again, like I said, we started to see the Wu Yang a little bit more, and you're starting to see why. Good poke, good healing, good escapability at times, and it wasn't necessarily punished enough there by Costa Rica, who basically you see your neither of these teams making a real swap at what they were playing last round.
Yeah, I don't say I blame, at least Puerto Rico, you don't blame them in the slightest here. Costa Rica, they want to try to make this work as best they can, because you would love to make these swap-ups earlier on, but you want to have confidence in what you have come out here with, and I don't blame them at all for trying to stick down this route. But it's going to take somebody like Kitso and Kel, who we've seen play great before, to kind of pop off again and shut down someone like Under that so far has been so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and you're looking at Kale on the other side, being able to try to keep that Ashe in check in that duel here, but Underf has been doing a really good job here. Again, I think they had 3 or 4 Bobs last round, which is almost insane, but Benji, this is who you need to get rid of first here. If you're Costa Rica, get something going, get rid of that backline pressure of the Tracer so you can keep going, and Wed, whew, we know how aggressive they can be, already finding one.
And fantastic early on here. It's going to open up the door as they're starting to go through the underpass, progress through. Arsene just focus on getting out of there with the rest of the squad, being able to hang around. And already get to worry about Papa Joe having this nano at 75% already. Could potentially have it here for this engagement shortly, just trying to build it up. Unfortunately, gets separated. Is lucky to still be alive.
Yeah, Torres actually missed the jump there, fell down. That's the only reason that Papa Joe's probably alive, but Kale's going to be able to find them there. Now, if you're Costa Rica, that's your go button. You have to start running.
Absolutely have to. Need to be able to try to regroup as best you can, because remember, Papa Joe is going to come back with the nano here shortly. But unfortunately, Wed, another great elimination. You can try to get the retouch here, but you're running out of resources, running out of time here. This nano could come back in time, but unfortunately, with Arsene going down, that's going to be a quick cap for Costa Rica as well. Nearly 5 minutes on the clock and a lot of ultimates on hand.
A lot of ultimates for them here. A lot of ultimates for both teams, really. I mean, Under, we talked about them having a really good round last round. They started off good, but have really just started to struggle. You've really seen Costa Rica now come into a little bit of their own here. It took them a little bit. Papa Joe does have that. It looks like we're... Yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting a pause here as the mic probably died there for Arsene. But hey, this is exactly what you're looking for if you're Costa Rica. After what was definitely a struggle on the defensive side, you're really now matching what Puerto Rico did, and you're getting value, and you're getting early value in a lot of these fights from Kale, from Kixo, from really Benji and Wed. As well, they've been able to find a lot of picks here early on, and normally with this Costa Rican team, when that support line is really going in and finding some early picks and just finding picks in general, you really see them play with a little bit more confidence because it allows the team to know that they don't always have to be peeling back for their backline every time.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have confidence in your backline to be able to survive a lot of these situations. And to be fair, the carry and the brig are both fantastic individually, honestly, for being able to survive of a lot of these attacks, especially because obviously you're mainly going to send Arson and Flakies in on that. But the moment you send that, you're going to see Artorias and Kitso try to hit up that backline as well. And Wed can decide, hey, I can dive in with them. If you, at that point, you're willing to sacrifice Benji if you think you can destroy that backline and essentially win yourself the fight. We haven't seen it happen specifically yet, but I guarantee you at some point that's going to come to mind. That's going to come to action.
Unpaused here now. Papa Joe still holding on to the nano, but you're looking at all the ultimates coming online here in this fight. I mean, you could realistically see probably 3, 4, even 5 ultimates used here as Arson already going straight in. Wedtube, though, going to start off it all off here with the Kitsune.
Yeah, 100% nano over onto Arson as well to make a little bit of space right now. But Artorias going to be burnt down, and eventually you're going to see Costa Rica fall apart. They get a good amount of progress, still 4 minutes over on time bank, but you do burn a lot of ultimates trying to win that fight.
You burn a lot of ultimates there. Both your support ultimates gone for Puerto Rico, but you invested Bob, you invested Pulse Bomb, you invested Kitsune there for Costa Rica. So again, if you're Puerto Rico, you're really happy with that because you still have some really good ultimates left. You have Primal Rage, and granted, Artorias is going to have it for Costa Rica here as well, but you have your own Bob, a good stalling tool here for you coming into this next engagement. Right now, if you're Puerto Rico, you just want to be able to take maybe 1 or 2 more fights inside of Hangar here before you give it up, if you give it up.
Yeah, you obviously don't want to have to, but there's still 3:15 on the clock right now. Lots of ults available, but you take the trade out. Both tracers down. Artorias has gone and pulled the trigger going. Ape in the room, but unfortunately, kind of has to back out a little bit as Kella has already gotten rid of 2, trying to force some bodies back. Under running for their life, will be taken out, and now I'm going to throw bodies over on this point as soon as this bomb expires. But it is going to delay them for a bit as the pulse bomb is going to stick to the tail end of the shield. Even though so, Arson is more than happy to keep the aggression and push them back.
Ben's doing a really good job of slowing up Arson with his Primal Rage, but now Arson desperately needs some healing, and they're going to be able to come in, find one. Arson cleans up Benji, and you just see Costa Rica back out of that fight entirely there. Smart and really good plays there by Puerto Rico just to finish that fight. Like I said, you want to take 1 or 2 more fights really inside of Hangar if you have to give it up here, and that was 1 fight down. Look at the ultimates here again. Kixo could have a Pulse Bomb. Wedtube will have their Kitsune. On the other side though, Papa Joe and Purely would be the only ones that could have ultimates ready here early on. He orders to die from Artorias onto that high ground.
Yeah, it gets pushed up pretty heavily. Again, lucky to be alive. Low 100 will eventually get cared for though. And Kixo going out early, oh, that's heartbreaking. Now there's no way you can engage in the situation. You throw the nano onto Arson anyway. But at this point, this fight's already done and dusted. That might be one that I want back, especially as they are pushing really aggressively. Arson so low and somehow stays alive.
Somehow, some way. I thought Arson maybe overstepped their boundaries right there, but I don't know. I don't think they should have lived there at all. I think Puerto Rico got away with one there, but now look, Purely has this Tidal Blast ready to go, but you're still looking at the other side. You have that Kitsune, you have the Pulse Bomb. You're really looking for Kixo here to be able to get past 1 to find that stick onto that backline to really open up a lot here for Costa Rica.
Yep, 100%. Like he's just trying to go on the tear right now, but it's Arson who's already gotten rid of 2. Trying to shut this down here and now, but it's just Purely and Wed respectively for this watch, trying to keep everybody going. Wed alive. He's helping fuel this powerhouse right now with less than 5 meters remaining. Arson is going to double down. Primal Rage has been activated. Wed has been taken care of. Bob thrown over to the point to try to make a little bit more room. Artorias right around the corner from getting their own Primal Rage. Only 1.5 meters left. Pulse Bomb goes out. Unfortunately, doesn't get a whole lot of anything, but it doesn't matter as they'll be able to take progress here. Now, 2:15 going to be on the clock here. Not a whole lot of time, all things considered. goodbye.
And Ender, yep, just going to accept the death right there. I think they understood there was no escape for them. Papa Joe, though, was able to get out again. Kiriko able to get out a little bit easier than the Ash there. But hey, like I said, if you're Puerto Rico, you wanted to have 1-2 more fights, you got to 3. Look at the time bank already. Even if Costa Rica ends this, Puerto Rico will be attacking second in overtime. And Torres already diving into that high ground spot, has the primal rage ready to go here, and wants to get rid of Purely, but barely keeping themselves alive. Kixo, though, will be able to take care of them.
Yeah, Notoria is getting so low, has to pull that Primal Rage down to be able to survive and clear out a bunch more space. And to be fair, doing a great job of it. Papa Joe's been taking care of. You're forcing Flaky's over to the corner, but eventually got to pull back a bit with a minute and a half left on this clock. This Bob for Under is going to be so critical this next fight as the Pulse Bomb doesn't stick. Flaky's down.
Benji, though, maybe swap over to the Lucio. Again, they were playing Drake for the majority of the first part of this map. Now going over to Lucio, needs a little bit more sustain, a little bit more speed. Bob out from Anderp, and now, Hunter, you're really in a little bit of a drought for ultimates here hitting this final minute. Yeah, Benji will probably be able to build up to a beat, but outside of that, I don't know if Puerto Rico's going to be able to build up to anything.
I don't think so either, but already you're seeing the kills going the way here of Costa Rica, trying to finish this map out with as much time as they can muster right now, falling one after another. Arson switches over to the Mao to try to get some touches. Will be one of the last touches. Under trying to make the swaps as well, but eventually going to be separated. Burnt away, beat coming through here as you get a little bit more stall coming through. Flaky's purely trying to get out there. This is all the stall game at this point, getting it below that 30-second marker, burning clock away. But it feels like an inevitability as the Pulse Bomb will end it. You'll get a minute total, but still 3:38 available here for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but honestly, if you're Costa Rica, you're happy you completed the map. I mean, we talk about it a lot. Sometimes you just have to forego what the time bank was there for Puerto Rico. Costa Rica did everything there. And look at the stats here. Oh, my goodness.
Sheesh.
The tank doing incredibly well for both these two teams. Both 21 elims for them. Kale, though, Costa Rica has been doing really good. And even though we talked about Ander being really impressive with that first round, you really start to see a little bit of a fall off there for them. Only 11 elims in total so far throughout this entire map. The 11,000, almost 11,500 damage feels a little bit weird to only see 11 elims next to that number, but the support lines as well. Just look at that. They're purely Papa Joe combining for probably about 18,500 healing. Same thing are said for Benji and WebTube. I mean, these two teams very, very close stat-wise throughout the first 2 rounds there. Time bank-wise, though, that's the only difference, honestly.
Yeah, and it's going to be rough only having a minute to get through this right here because a lot of it is going to be important for what we usually see in initial engagements for Gibraltar, and that's sending your flex DPS over on the cart, get it as far through the underpass as possible, and then hopefully force a drop, take over the high ground, and go from there. That's what you're hoping for, but you only have one shot in this instance because setting up for that first fight with the way this card is, it really is like a one long fight, and unless somebody gets picked off early here, that's what we should see.
Puerto Rico's going to try to make this into that long fight you're talking about here. They want to have it be a little bit of a drag out. They're okay with it getting to the bottom of the valley, most likely, before they really engage into a fight here. Nice. Wait, Papa Joe took the headshot perk. I feel like, especially on defense, that's an interesting one to have, but it's one that maybe Costa Rica will not necessarily be ready for.
Yeah, no, because Papa Joe's been really good at landing these shots. You get a couple of well-placed headshots, you'll relieve somebody, but unfortunately, Flaky's is the first to go down. Everybody over on the side of Puerto Rico now just going to focus on survivability, keeping this high ground together. Because even though it is that you're down a person right now, that doesn't mean you're in a rough situation, but losing Papa Joe, that definitely starts making it a little rough.
Need to fall back right now. If you're Puerto Rico, losing one more would be an absolute nightmare for them. As Papa Joe gets right back in, or spawns back in now, it's going to be a little bit before you see him come out here. But again, no ultimate really here, so you're looking at a dry fight, but Torres Cal very low here.
Ooh. Yeah, and that's a rough person to lose at this stage. You don't get a Bob to work with now, and instead, you're having to worry about trying to get these support ultimates online. You see that deep dive from Artorias, who's going to get separated with the bubble momentarily. Eventually, going to try to find some separation. Benji will be taken care of, so as to go get the cart. You will eventually be picked up by Kitso. You're so close to so many of the ultimates. Unfortunately, nothing going to come online in time. A meter and a half to capping that first one. And for Puerto Rico, they are set up in brilliant territory here for this attack.
Yeah, brilliant territory. However, I feel like if you're Puerto Rico, you're probably not happy with giving them almost essentially the first point. Because I mean, this is a difficult thing to break through sometimes. You could definitely see Puerto Rico get stuck at the bottom of the valley, really, here. I mean, I feel like this is a little bit too much space for especially a minute there as Papa Joe's is telling us that they're playing on 200 ping. I'm not, I mean, I'm kind of surprised by that, but hey. But yeah, I imagine Benji's also dealing with a high ping amount as well. At the moment. But I mean, if you're Costa Rica, I think you're happy with that attack. You got everything to go your way. That one early pick on the Papa Joe really probably gave them about an extra 20-30 meters there. I think if Papa Joe doesn't die, you really see Puerto Rico really quickly start a fight around 20 seconds because Papa Joe died. Puerto Rico had to buy their time at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. And now, obviously, this is a ton of time to have to deal with, and you will potentially see a situation where they don't wait for the one fight, essentially. They want to try to, I think, maybe a slightly more aggressive approach to give themselves 2 fights to work with, because to put everything onto one fight for nearly an entire 4-minute time bank, that puts a lot of pressure on you and leaves you a lot less opportunities, I think.
Yeah, and already you see kind of same strategy for Puerto Rico here, but Papa Joe, hey, the headshot perk finds value here pretty early on the attacking side.
Yeah, and that's a great way to get your attack started, and you basically have to give up this first tap right here as a result. Got a way to get Papa Joe back and take that aggression then. But still, moving forward, as you eventually going to see Kitso deliver that little pressure over onto the point, and you're going to see this happen for quite an extent right here as Benji gets in on the fun a little bit, trying to force out Flakey's, who somehow gets out of there alive, but it's Benji now that's the run for the life as Papa Joe again gets a big pick.
Someone on 200 ping, they've been able to find a lot early on here, almost getting the headshot again on the Artorias. For right now, I mean, the cart's still moving here for Puerto Rico, about a minute gone in their time bank, and they're only about 30 or 20, yeah, 30 meters away right now for them. Purely though finds Wed, that's a huge early pick.
Yeah, and things starting to slip away. It's just Artorias, Benji now trying to get one more touch. Everybody being ready to come out of the spawns here, but Benji's just gonna have to rush to the point. Hope that Wed can get there in time to TP to them, but the rush is there. They get there with such little left, unfortunately. That's gonna be your ball game on this one. Puerto Rico going to take your first map away. Impressively so, Arson nearly clocking in 18,000 damage was super impressive on that Winston.
Yeah, especially remember D.Va being banned out here. Both teams really stuck with the Winston through and through. I mean, I'm impressed with both the Winstons actually from these two teams. Arson, though, it felt like, again, they were never afraid to take that first engagement, be the first one to jump in, use that bubble, and try to take some space. And for their team, especially in the first round, their first attacking push, it really ended up working out for them. I feel like it caught Costa Rica off guard a little bit. They were impressive throughout that entire map. Puerto Rico takes the first one here, and I honestly don't know what Costa Rica could have done differently there, especially in overtime. I mean, Puerto Rico, they had time on their side. And again, you don't normally expect to see, especially I feel like the Ana pick the headshot perk that often. I feel like the double bounce nade is especially one that's is picked more often. And if we go based off what Overwatch has told us, it's the most picked perk in the game.
Yeah, and it's the most picked in the game for a very good reason. But if you have someone that is so confident in their aim in a situation where if you get an early pick right here, it does so much for you. It gives you so much value. I don't necessarily blame Papa Joe for going down that route and deciding that it was worth it. Because as we saw in the end, it was worth it for them to be able to clear house like that. It really opened up the door for Puerto Rico's second attack. And I love the confidence in doing so. But obviously, Costa Rica wants to have their opportunity to bounce back. Again, we know how good the squad is. They still managed to finish Gibraltar in the first place. Unfortunately, just barely came up short for that first cap.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Puerto Rico might have been a little bit mad at themselves there for giving up that much space. And again, like I mentioned, it was all because Papa Joe died. They fell back. They had to give up a lot more space and probably what they really wanted to do. But because of their time bank, they didn't necessarily have to worry about it. Granted, if Costa Rica was able to find maybe an early pick that round, maybe you start to worry a little bit more if you're Puerto Rico. But Puerto Rico, they played a very smart overtime round there. I mean, there was never, I feel like, any pressure on the back line there for them. Papa Joe Rica, and Purely just had almost free reign to do whatever they wanted, it felt like, because it seemed like the Battle of the Tracers, Flakies was able to find Kixo there a lot, but I mean, Papa Joe helped Flakies there in that overtime round. Again, a good start here for Puerto Rico, but going into our second map, again, don't know what it is just yet. Costa Rica, I feel like they also, like you said, had a good start, able to complete the map, which always is a good thing, but they have some subs this time around in the lobby, which is one thing that in the past, me and you haven't necessarily seen from Costa Rica. It's gonna be really interesting to see if they do come in. Same thing for Puerto Rico. I imagine they probably have some subs as well waiting, that it would be really fun to see them rotate some players in and out.
It really would be, because Costa Rica has had backups, but the thing is that they never really put them in. They kept with the same five pretty much the entirety of that time. So obviously, it'd be interesting to see if anybody does come in this instance, because we do see them in that lobby, that they are in the wings waiting should they come calling, because these teams aren't just going to settle for 5 players on a roster. Rosters are allowed 7 for the World Cup, so you're going to want to bring in other people. But as we're seeing right now, as Arson, good knowing you, buddy. Catch on the other side. I have to show this. I can't not show this. This is cinema.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's the 1v1.
Which I believe we're figuring out what the 1v1 actually is going to be right now. It's the cat in the door. Oh my god.
Initiating match.
Yeah. No, actually, I think they're just waiting for everyone to get in the lobby. It looks like everyone is now in the lobby here. So Lijiang Tower, normally the map we see first, gonna be the map we see second here in our series tonight. And it looks like no swaps between the two teams, so we're gonna be seeing the exact same 10 players. But differences, I would say, would definitely come down to...
We've been gaslit. Bamboozled. Fooled.
Okay, still going to Lijiang Tower, but again, they just
they're
swap
doing the... Oh yeah, so they swapped to the scrim code, so they're just gonna, I think they're just gonna send 2 people out to do the 1v1. I think this is their way of doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay,
yeah. So yeah, we should quickly explain that part, because I don't think we explained it fully in in actual VC like this. So if anyone watched the boot camp the previous weekend, a lot of the first map choices were made by allowing them to come out and do 1v1s. That's how kind of things went down before, and it seems like that is how we're going to be doing things here as well, to decide some of these maps. Now, we don't know who is going to be facing who. We don't know what they're going to be on necessarily. That's something that we're going to find out very much on the spot here in a second, but I'd be excited to see it. Before, it was things like the cat 1v1s. We'll see if that's the case, but for now, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, even if that's the case, we might just be swapping over to scrim code here for the rest of this series at the moment, which would be interesting. But right now, I mean, again, if we go to a map like Lijiang Tower here, it shows us a little bit more, shows us maybe the option to have a couple different compositions played as well, which I think is a good thing. We saw only dive last map, and right now with what the teams are showing us, granted, don't necessarily know how true or how real they are gonna be. But I mean, Costa Rica is showing us a pretty standard composition right now, other than Benji being on the Mizuki. The other side, though, for Puerto Rico, it's a little bit more pokey out here, with Flakies playing the Vendetta rather than maybe something like a Tracer. Okay, Arson now going over to Domino. Is this a 1v1 or is this going to be the map?
I think maybe it could be the Domino 1v1. I think what they're doing, as you're going to see the thing probably go black here in a second. Yeah. They're figuring out. I don't think they had it fully ready for what the 1v1 was going to be in the situation regarding that. So, like I said, all we can really do is just wait and see what happens. But this is a regular map, back to the usual competitive code. So I'm thinking perhaps they're... I think I might just stop talking.
just bring. Okay,
bring
back
it
to Lijiang.
Maybe. All right.
Back to Lijiang.
Love to see it. Okay.
I think this is a real map. Thank you, Spooky. Yeah, so to answer someone's question, Spooky Spanish, who I believe is just Spooky, is in lobby. Actually, the lobby host at the moment. Yeah. I think they're still on one of the teams. I believe. I think they might be on the Costa Rican team, if I remember correctly. But I think we're actually going to go into a real map.
Yeah. They were one of the backups of forward that we had during the 2 original matches that we did for Costa Rica. I don't know if they ever came in, but they were definitely on that list of players. But we'll see. what that means for the future. But Dex, I hope we're genuinely getting back into this one, as for the time being, Sigma versus the Domina, a matchup that I have seen. And while it's gone back and forth, I'm going to be quiet. We'll see what it comes before right now, because we see the Zarya and the Vendetta, which is just a deadly combo.
It's a deadly combo, and we saw it earlier tonight in the Chile tryouts. And it's very scary. But the other side as well, I think the Sigma Vendetta is one that doesn't get talked about a lot. It's just a lot of good cohesion, a lot of good just combo potential right there as well. The Accretion being able to stun someone out there, and Ander going over to the Caster. Remember, Caster's banned out last map, but Benji got to make sure that Caster's not going to be shown much here early on.
Yeah, 100%. And with no bans in place here, obviously everything is complete free reign right now to get things going. But as things are right now, Costa Rica trying to lay their claim over on the point right now. They'll get the first cap to get things going here, but nothing so quite yet. It's still the first one going to go down. Arsene trying to eat that damage away. Unfortunately, the beam does not care in that situation, as they're going to be cleared out in tow. Papa Joe, the last one surviving, should be able to get out of there alive, as Costa Rica properly wins their first fight.
And I was going to say that it wouldn't surprise me if Arsene makes a swap over to the Zarya just to mirror it, because the Zarya Sigma battle is almost always won by the Zarya here. So Arsene swapping here to the Zarya as well. And outside that, now you're basically playing essentially the same same mirror match actually, as you do see Ender also swap over to the Sojourn.
Ooh, and Artorias unfortunately got the better from here after the swap. Ander was doing really good for a little bit back on that Falter, and so far just trying to get momentum here for their squad. And for the time being, it looks like things are going to work out. Going to cap over 47%. And already Arsene is kind of slowly starting to chip away at that big lead in the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, one fight, and Arsene went from 0 to, well, 40. Artorias, now that was the second fight, only at 60. But again, a really good re-engage there by Puerto Rico. They make the swaps, and it works out very well. Ander, even, we have lost Flakies. We have lost Flakies. It's Toll gonna take their spot.
We're going back to cams on this one. This is definitely fascinating. my
Latino moment.
I need that screenshot, and that's perfect. No, I'll get it later.
Yeah, but no, basically the swaps we saw come out there from Puerto Rico immediately worked. Thank you. There's Flakies back. Thank you.
Hi, Flakies.
Thank you, Mochi. But the swaps immediately ended up working out there for Puerto Rico. One thing I want to say is Ander found the opening pick there. And I did talk about the fact that they only had, when we saw it after the 2 rounds there, 11 picks, or 11 elims to almost 11,500 damage. Again, sometimes you don't necessarily need to be finding the elims if you're finding the damage there. And Ander definitely showed us that last map, because they did a really good job. There's the stats there, at least the kills were not there for them, but everything else really was. And this Puerto Rican team is playing really good around this DPS line and around Arsene as well, because last map, Arsene on that Winston, I thought really did outperform Artorias at some points, just being able to take space. And we're already seeing that here again, where Puerto Rico is not necessarily afraid to make that first move in these engagements, especially after they made a swap to mirror the Zarya here. You already see him kind of pushing up, but now smartly falling back as Flaky's back in. Gonna have to respawn though and leave all the ultimate cards they had on that Vendetta.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. You're not going to get the retouch here either. So only 26% right here. They're going to try to make their way back to this one, but instead, Super Rush will be thrown right into their face, and Kel on the spot deleted as they're going to be pushing up. Arsene being gone does make things a little bit more difficult to pull this one back, as Flaky's going to go down. The full team link comes through. Costa Rica taking advantage of the scenario, and honestly, all that aggression is what was needed there.
Yeah, and you need to take that advantage you had there. It's an unfortunate thing that Flaky's disconnected, but at the cost of 1 ultimate there, you now have 4 going into what could be final fight. And the other side, yeah, they're going to have 3, but your 4 should really beat their 3 for the most part. Hell, at this point, Hunter, I would not be mad if they ult this.
Yeah, whenever they're pulled in, Hunter's going to be the first one to go down, and yeah, they very much are. Yo, Papa Joe, considering Rush, it's the last tool they really have at their expenditure, and unfortunately, it's not going to do anything for them. Flaky just needs to live to be able to get the overtime touch if possible. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen, so 126 going to be your first round locked in here. And at the end of the day, you do see this little bounce back from, Puerto Rico originally, but unfortunately, just never able to do anything outside of that fight win really took the point back.
Ready.
Yeah, and again, it's an unfortunate thing there because Puerto Rico seemed to be able to come back in, be strong, but once they lost Flakies, again, you lose a lot of this momentum with this composition that they're playing with the Zarya Vendetta because they have to go hand in hand. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the Chile tryouts where if you lose one of them, you're basically either deciding to die quickly or back out quickly here with these teams. And Arsene, I'm not going to believe you there. But again, Costa Rica, I think they needed that round. Again, they really benefited off of an unfortunate situation there for Puerto Rico. Arsene, I will believe that though. Arsene though making himself over to the Ramatra. Again, we talked about earlier. You see this a lot with teams where the Zarya may be doing a little bit too much, so they go over to the Ramatra as a counter, able to punch through the bubbles and do some damage. And that is what Arsene's going to be looking for here early as they already started moving towards point.
Yeah, 100%, and already making a big difference as you are seeing Arsene watch their team get deleted in front of them here as Papa Joe still hanging around, but eventually is just going to try to dump out of there as again, Costa Rica is going to take, honestly, a very quick fight right there, and Wed already up to 40% on a Consumé rush.
Yeah, and that fight felt weird for Puerto Rico. It seemed like they had two different ideas there. One, of half the team going to the point, and the other half trying to take a fight in the food court here, and it didn't work out. And now Kale, they had a good map last map, even in the loss. They're picking that right back up here so far.
Yeah, no, 110%. They're looking fantastic thus far here today. And I love that they're kind of keeping these angles, they're keeping the aggression on them. They're not letting Puerto Rico just walk onto the point and being able to take a fight. They're forcing them to come a different direction over here and take this fight a little more on the outside, where I feel like, while it is pretty much a mirror of the situation, it does give you a little bit more of that post-work if you are Arsene. But either way, Count gets that first elimination to get things rolling right now. Benji and Wedge struggling a little bit to stay alive here, with Artorias with all of this charge, pushing everybody back. This should be another wipe.
This is going to be a wipe here, and if you're Puerto Rico, at this moment right now, you have to be looking at saying, hey, we need to make some swaps here, we need to make some changes. If you're going to stick with this Ramatra, I honestly think you might need to adopt a Symmetra here. Just keeping straight to point, force fights there instead of going through food court, of going through the normal choke point here. Because look at Costa Rica here. About to have 3 good ultimates, really about to have all 5 of them. And Puerto Rico, because of these swaps, still kind of lagging behind here, especially if it's a drawn-out fight. This could be final fight for the map.
Yeah, but you gave yourself on the right foot. So he's been taken first and foremost. Flakies tries to go for the assassination. He gets extremely low as a result, but now you can set up for a touch over on this point with the annihilation in your hand. Artorias just got back out of there, hoping to get this Crab Hunter online, as they're going to have every ult available.
I mean, Costa Rica's fine picking that up here, and you start to see what could be an ult up come out here for them.
Yep, Beat gonna come down, and it's gonna catch on to some members, but Flaky's in under. Unfortunately, don't get caught up in it. Flaky's gonna go down, as now Grab Hunter still available here for Artorias. Kitso cutting down body after body, grab thrown, and Kitso gets rid of the third, continues to cut bodies down, hits the fourth, takes the ace away. But with that, it is a mad dash for Flaky's to get this touch on the point.
I mean, do you see them get the touch? You see some swaps coming out there. Arsene going over to the Doomfist. Flakies might be denied at the door here. But you might be looking at Arsene to find the touch. Flakies gets the pick, but they won't get back in time. And Costa Rica gonna be able to win our second map of the night, tying this series up 1-1. And oh my goodness,
Yeah.
Benji never died.
Never died. Insanity.
Especially with how aggressive this team's playstyle is and the competition with Lucio, it's a very incredible performance there from Benji to not die. Especially playing with, like I said, the Zarya Vendetta. You want to be kind of hanging around the Vendetta as that Lucio to make sure that you get them out as fast as they possibly can. A really good job there by Benji, bouncing back from not necessarily a bad performance back on Watch Point, but definitely being able to bounce back and help their team get a huge victory here to even up the series.
Yeah, and that's a really good performance by then. Ultimately, I think you only win 2 fights there if you're Puerto Rico total in that whole instance. but it's a really good job for Costa Rica to bounce back from what we saw from their initial defense back on Gibraltar to now. It feels like two different teams. It genuinely does. But it's fantastic for them to bounce back in such a quick manner. And we'll see where things change from here and how you might see the adjustment. I think you're already seeing a lot of the strengths that each team has and what they kind of prefer to go down in terms of compositions. But we'll see how that kind of affects the rest of the series moving forward, as I feel like this is the map that really showed off what Benji and WedTube can do as a duo, because we've seen them over the course of a long period of time, what they can do and how they can play at the highest level. And it's no surprise that they've come in here and they make that impact immediately in that back line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it worked out great for them that last map. Again, like I said, they didn't have a bad performance on Watchpoint Gibraltar, but this map, you saw them make the comp swap differences. It worked out very well for them. And Puerto Rico, again, you could really talk about Flaky's disconnect kind of maybe ruining their momentum they had on Control Center. And yeah, that is definitely a case you could make. But you go over to a different map and have no success. It seemed like they were always putting themselves in maybe the worst possible spot. Going through food court all the time never really worked for them. They tried to have this split kind of formation coming out of the gate where two members of the team went to point while the rest just tried to take the fight. It seemed like a little bit of a miscommunication, especially with what you were running there, not running the Zarya, running the Ramatra instead. That is definitely a comp that wants to try to be on the point a lot of the times, make it a little bit more difficult for that Zarya comp with the Vendetta to make that engagement in. It just seemed like a little bit of a miscommunication there from Puerto Rico, but still a lot of time left in this series for them. Costa Rica, though, they get off to a really good start there. They're now back in this series. It's going to be really fun to see the momentum they have going into whatever the next map is.
Yeah, obviously, we'll see what we end up going down in terms of that route. We'll see here pretty shortly, but it's going to be pretty interesting as to how things are going to change up here pretty shortly, and see what kind of adjustments both these teams are going to make. Because remember, both these sides, they do have backups, they have abilities to swap different players out and really try to make a difference. And honestly, ultimately tried to create a different vibe and test things out. Because remember, neither of these rosters are solidified yet. So you're going to see things still be moved around, because they're still going to treat this in a sense like, hey, let's see what these players can do. What can they pull off?
Yeah, and especially you talk about moving some players around. We're going to have some subs coming in here, or a sub coming in here for Puerto Rico. God Baby or Judge is going to be coming in for Arson on the tank here. And that might kind of tell you a little bit of a story here, especially whenever we get the map for our next map here, especially what kind of play style they want to play. Maybe God Baby a little bit better on some of these brawl style heroes. Maybe the Zarya, might even see the Ramatra come back out for them. Maybe Poke might be the way they want to go here. Again, we'll figure out a little bit more about it when it comes down to what map we see, or it's just Puerto Rico saying, hey, we're playing a really good team here in Costa Rica. We want to see what some of our other players have. And I will never say, especially in these friendlies, that's a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. You love to see that, as a matter of fact. That you're willing to put up these other players, see what they can do in a situation like this, and try different things. That's important at the end of the day. So I'm excited to see what that's going to affect, as we'll figure out where things are going to proceed from here in terms of where you want to go for a different map at this point, because obviously losers pick in this situation here. So Puerto Rico going to be dictating where we go, and things are going to be very interesting. As a team that honestly really popped off on that dive, they're going to take us on to what might be the polar opposite when it comes to dive maps.
Well, the polar opposite, yeah, it's going to be Saravasa is going to be our third map. However, it's not necessarily the exact polar opposite. Well, yes, Zarya and some more brawl and poke styles do really work here at Saravasa. We have seen Diva work. We have seen Wrecking Ball. We have seen Doomfist work here. So you can play dive here. It just requires a little bit more kind of effort, and I think that might be the best way to say it, from some of your DPS line for the most part, just being able to really help your team here. But we've definitely seen Wrecking Ball make this their own personal playground in the past in this map, Hunter, especially in both NA and South America.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's been really excited to see what they can do, and I'm really excited. Again, I'll enunciate how excited I am many times over. I promise. Make your over-under picks now. But it's really exciting to see what we're going to see as we're getting ready to head into our third map of the evening. As, hey, okay,
We
we'll
got
see how
bans.
that works right there. Yeah, we do have bans. Beautiful bans. In fact, it... All right, we'll see how our adjustment is right there. So, yeah, talk us through it on this one, Dex.
So Costa Rica going to be banning out the Wu Yang. Puerto Rico going to be banning out the Zarya for this map. So again, you're not going to be seeing Zarya, which I think was a really big reason why Costa Rica won that last map. Artorias did a really good job, especially with Kixo, being able to make a lot of space and find a lot of value on it. So no powerlifting Russian this time around for Costa Rica. And hey, the Wu Yang ban, I think you go back to map 1 on this in this series, Purely did a really good job playing that Wu Yang, playing a very smart and safe Wu Yang as well, providing a lot of healing and a lot of damage. Two very smart bans going into a map where both of them are incredibly strong. So it kind of goes back into that thing of, here we go again. It kind of goes back into that thing of, it's going to be interesting to see what we see. We could see Dive come back out here. We could see Junker Queen come back out here, or come out here for the first time tonight. Domina, maybe. Both teams have teased it, but haven't shown it here. But I don't expect to see that. If anything, Ramatra or Rissa maybe will come out here. Sigma, again, both these teams definitely do have that in their back pocket. But when we see the heroes be picked here, it's going to be interesting. Again, God Baby in this map for Arson, who again had, I think, really a good 2 first maps there. A little bit of a struggle last map, but still 2 solid maps.
Yeah, honestly, really 2 solid maps. And obviously hoping this one is going to be really solid as well. Because it feels like after that last map, you do need some kind of little momentum shift. And maybe that does come off the back of Gabi becoming in here and potentially playing that Sigma. I was baited before. I'm happy to be baited again, quite honestly. But one thing we're seeing, I think Benji and Papa Joe might be messing with us, but I'm going to fall for it. I'm going to believe that we're getting the double cat here. And at the very least, Benji swaps as Papa Joe is going to keep my heart intact and is going for the Jetpack Cat.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jetpack Cat, this might be one of the maps that Jetpack Cat actually finds a decent amount of value, especially with their ultimate. All 4 of the side points after the initial point does have options or availability to be able to find picks with the ultimate here. But Artorias is going to be showing us the Domina, God Baby going to be showing us the Junk Queen. Here's 2 very different playstyles. It seems like Costa Rica, they want to be a little bit more pokey. Puerto Rico, they want to be in your face like you see God Baby doing.
Exactly. You want that more than anything. You see the separation as both Lucios are already gone, so a lot of that big speed aspect is now gone for both teams right here, as you see that immediate adjustment for Costa Rica to head over towards the point. Going to get the first cap here. As it feels like you kind of have to wait a little bit to get your Lucio back in the lineup to get that little bit extra strength.
Lucio purely oversteps the boundaries there, and Kale takes him out yet again.
Yeah, Miguel with the double to finish this fight off right here. Blakey just wants to try to get out alive, just wants to live. And so unfortunately not going to let it happen, and God Baby is just pretty separated right now. Would love to take one down with him. Unfortunately, it's just going to be separated, and now you're already in that final fight territory.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Papa Joe, you already see some swaps coming out there. Flaky's going over the Tracer. Papa Joe on this cat wall. Like I said, you could definitely find some value here. I look at the composition here for Puerto Rico as God Baby swaps to mirror the Domina. Just being able to have enough support, enough healing to be able to keep a lot of people alive. And I feel like that's why you see a lot of these swaps coming out here. They want to try to make this cat work. So they're going over to a couple more heroes that have some more sustainability and definitely just some more survivability here as well. As God Baby now going to start taking these poke battles here with Artorias. So watch out for Flakies and Kicks to try to find that backline here very early on.
Yeah, and you see Under has to get in there. Unfortunately, Yale, who has had a phenomenal first round, he is hoping to round things out as Blakey's Papa Joe Curley all trying to hang around, all trying to stall the point a little while longer. Papa Joe does take out Benji, thankfully, but this is going to be an inevitability. 100-0 to get this first round started. We'll see where we go as things stand right now for Costa Rica. A handful of ultimates going to be ready for this next fight.
And for Puerto Rico, really nothing. I mean, you're going to have Catnap, maybe the Overclock as well, but I mean, you're kind of putting yourself behind the 8 ball here. Yeah, granted, you did make some swaps, but I mean, you just need something to go your way here. You need a first pick. You cannot have Kale find out purely for the 3rd straight fight.
Yeah, and they're doubling down Overclock along that considered rush. That is a deadly force to be reckoned right now. God Baby trying to be kept up. Wants to try to pull them and save them away. Unfortunately, Papa Joe going to die for that effort right there. And they're going to be able to clear away this point. The single bright side is, though, Puerto Rico used nothing for that fight. They're going to have all 5 coming up soon. They're, at the very least, they're going to have the advantage going into this next one.
going to have the advantage, but I think the ultimates that you still see here for Costa Rica are going to be enough to really sustain them through a lot of these ultimates here, even though they have all 5. And right now, again, everyone on Costa Rica has to be keeping a check on Papa Joe. Again, you're right by the water there. No one knows how to swim in Overwatch, apparently. And Kale finds Anderp out early on.
Yeah, and the catnap has come through. Unfortunately, Papa Joe taking care of it. And Gale's just a non-stop locomotive right now. As they're going to push everybody back in final fight territory. Full bomb thrown out, unfortunately. Yes, diddly squat as the reset comes through once more.
And there it is. Papa Joe was just playing the cat for 1 life. I thought it could potentially have some...
Well, hello.
It could work. I thought the cat could work. You need a lot of other stuff to really work for them there. Now you go over to the Kiriko here. It's going to be interesting to see how Puerto Rico now changes their playstyle up here a little bit, knowing they have a little bit more support, a little bit more healing on their side. But it's 3-3 in the ults right now. And Hunter, they're basically almost all the same ult. Oh.
You see that Falcon come out from Artorias. Gababy still has theirs, gonna let it loose. It does catch on to 1, actually 2, and the beat comes through, unfortunately, not in time to save Artorias and Kale, as you should be able to see Puerto Rico close this one now. Just need to get that target focus together, and that will be enough as Kitso Benzi gonna save their lives, take the reset here, as the first real clean fight win thus far here for Puerto Rico.
Accessory.
Yeah, and they needed that bad. They really needed something to go their way bad here. I don't necessarily like what we're seeing here from God Baby, but I understand it. However, you're putting yourself in a really rough spot here. One of the slowest tanks in the game. Really needs Purely to be able to come help him out here, but you see Purely having to play for their own life at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly what, I mean, obviously you don't have to fight for your life every single time, but you're already seeing the backline of Flaky's taking this fight, has to just get out of dodge entirely here right now, which maybe they're not on to really win this fight here with that overclock right here, but Kel is going to have theirs online coming up here shortly. It's going to be the battle of these soldiers to try to take care of the second point. Is the point going to flip over? Gotta be trying to survive. It's not going to happen though. The pulse going to stick on, but the survival comes through for the squad as again shut down here. HOC Costa Rica be able to take this over to map point. You might lose out on 1, but it's a small price to pay for success.
Yeah, you'll take that every day of the week. If you get the team killed there, yeah, you're okay losing 1, losing 2. A really good re-engage there by Costa Rica. God Baby, though, like I said, I understood why they were pushing up. They want to try to buy some time, but I think it just puts the rest of Puerto Rico into a really rough spot where once they got back, it was like you already kind of knew where Costa Rica was going, but you had no good response for it there. Now look, beat Pulse Bomb ready for Costa Rica, not that far away from Huntertain. Well, beat ready to go here for Purely, but they've normally been one of the first ones taken out here as Artorias gets very low, but luckily, the ability is for Domino to charge her right back up to full health.
Oh, yes, they do. It is incredible how much sustainability you can really have as a Dominant. You use those abilities correctly. Gotta be easy eventually to force back that point. Slowly beginning to cab over towards Costa Rica. You gotta keep somebody on to prevent that from going through first right now. With Torres getting a ton of pressure. He eventually has to come up as the Falcon thrown in, gonna catch onto a couple of people. You want to find the finish onto Purely. Unfortunately, not able to do so as God Baby lets it out cleanse. Gonna be able to keep going a little while longer. Unfortunately, it just doesn't get the inherent value they wanted to. That should be on some of those first ones. Costa Rica just getting the cleanup going.
Activating defense array.
Really able to find 1, but it's not going to be enough in this fight here. Papa Joe, though, support line for Puerto Rico, finding some picks here, and really doing a good job just stalling to this point from being capped here. Even though they're going to give it up eventually, they basically just probably saved themselves about 15-20%, and now coming back in quickly is going to be what they do, especially with God Baby now going over to the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, that is going to be fascinating to see how they make this approach. I imagine it's going to be a lot more of an aggressive approach here with the aggression alongside Flaky's, but this is a very interesting swap, but honestly, a swap that felt like it needed to happen.
Yeah, it just felt like the Domino wasn't really working with God Baby. I mean, God Baby on their 3rd tank now. They definitely need something to give them a little bit of momentum here, especially on this Wrecking Ball. Just that chaos factor here as well. But you have this ultimates right now for Puerto Rico to really put yourself into a position where you use 1 here, put yourself in a spot for point win here as Anderp gets started.
Yeah, and you're going to see the headshot onto Kitso. And while Kel is hanging around, it's not going to be enough to pull this one back around. We'll take the reset as the quick flip is going to go back the other way. Get a little bit extra bit, 37% for Costa Rica. But that is a big fight win, a big necessary fight win there for Puerto Rico.
Oh, absolutely. And everything worked out great there for Puerto Rico. But look at this. Costa Rica already making a swap here. Benji going straight over to the break. Instead, as the pulse bomb comes out, but a huge Suzu from Wed keeps him alive. And Artorias already finding huge value as there's now no Kitsune for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and you just drop that point. There's no reason even think about contending in that situation right there. You go in, you have your own Kitsune Rush. There's no square ultimates to be able to throw back in their face. So if you want to double down here with ult and make sure you solidify this point to keep yourself going, honestly, it feels like you almost have to do it.
Yeah, go out now from Papa Joe as they try to get something going here, but purely away from everyone gets taken out early on, and they were so close to beat.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Panopticon's gonna miss, unfortunately, and now the aggression over onto Artorias, who is struggling to stay alive right now. But because of all this chaos, somehow, it hasn't really been working out at all. The mines are going to cause a momentary separation right here as the overtime going to activate. Purely going to be catching on to everybody as Blakey's trying to do their darndest to get back in this fight as soon as possible. And while Kel pulling in the corner with this overclock, needs to find somebody. God, maybe going to be the first one to go down, waiting for those mines to go away so you can help with this overtime touch. And Kel, they have been such a big force, but unfortunately, they'll be shut down while Artorias Kitso still hanging around. They need backup quick.
Artorias still alive here again. A little bit stronger right now is Dollar because she's basically able to re-heal herself back from almost dead to full health with one or two abilities here. But God, maybe back into the fray now. And honestly, if you're Puerto Rico, you're looking for any chance at a victory here. Nice rally here by Benji.
Yeah, it's massive. Remember, this point's going to start capping over very quickly when it goes through, and they are not ready for it as that is going to expire. Back-to-back map wins here for Costa Rica to put themselves on match point. They looked phenomenal on that map once again. They tried the adjustment. They tried their darndest, but God Baby was getting shut down consistently by Artorias.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Domina a little bit earlier on in our Chile tryouts where it had some value on one map and one map only, but outside of that, it was a struggle for anyone that played the Domina. Here, though, Costa Rica showing us that Domina really strong. Again, I will say, a little bit busted at the moment. We've already been told that there are going to be changes to her and her kit. Again, going from almost being dead to full health just because of some abilities is absolutely insane, and Artorias made it work there very, very well for Costa Rica in that map. Puerto Rico, though, I felt like it took them a little bit too long to get into that map. God Baby definitely had some struggles. You go to Papa Joe playing the cat for a little bit there. Again, I understand why they did it, but it's something where you really wanted to see maybe that swap to Kiriko a little bit sooner before, halfway through the second point in the map. I feel like, especially right now for Puerto Rico, you have to understand when something's not working. You have to give up some ultimates sometimes. And the Kiriko, once you saw Papa Joe make the swap, really started to help Puerto Rico out there a lot. God, maybe I think going over to the Wrecking Ball as well was a really good play for them. It forced out a lot of swaps from Costa Rica, but I think it just needed to happen a little bit earlier here for the Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it did, but it was good to sense that swap, and it started working out really well for them. As I see what we're both oohing about, and I'm excited for what's going to come next. But we'll obviously see what's going to come because it is match point now for Costa Rica. As Puerto Rico will be able to decide where we head next. But if we are to be believed correctly, I'll wait a moment to make sure I am indeed correct, because there's nothing I love more than gaslighting the audience we have before us. That's my favorite pastime in the world.
Yeah, and I think both me and you were really going to be excited for probably this player who was coming in, but it looks like it was a little bit of a mistake. And I like even people in the chat were saying like it's weird not seeing this player on this team. Well, they were here for a moment, but looks like the idea has changed. Oh, actually, no, it hasn't.
Yeah.
The idea has not changed. The lobby's just full.
We'll go ahead and do that. Make life a little bit easier. Take the sacrificial hit right there, as we'll get that squared away hopefully. But we'll see the adjustment shortly. As hopefully that fixes the issue at hand.
Yeah, but again, I think Puerto Rico, they looked good at times that last map, but I felt like just some of the changes that or the change that we saw maybe happened a little bit too late. I understand starting off on the Jungle Queen, then going over to the Domina, and then going over to the Wrecking Ball. I think just coming out of Wrecking Ball would have been very, very fun to see. And it definitely did give Costa Rica some problems, but Costa Rica showing us they are a very smart team, adapted really quickly. You saw Benji immediately go over to that Brigida and was able to slow down God Baby there a decent amount to the point where it was a little bit of a rough stretch there for God Baby to do anything while Benji was alive. Looks like, though, I think everything has been resolved. Maybe this player is coming in if they accepted the invite, but we do know what our fourth and potential final map of this series will be. It's going to be a push map, and we're going to be heading to Esperanza.
Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting to see what this produces, because Esperanza is one of those maps where I feel like the comp for it is still pretty wide open. You can run a pretty large majority of things. Sometimes people may tend to go the route of the Winston, which obviously we've seen already. But if you wanted to make something like that Domina work, I think you could definitely put yourself in a position to do so. So I think the ability for these teams to flex around is going to be important going into this one, especially if you're in Puerto Rico and you need to make those adjustments on the fly again to be able to bounce back. Because, again, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're having to claw behind for the entire second half of the map. In recent times, Dex, we have not seen any massive comebacks. And it's hard to have the confidence that somebody can when you see it as uncommonly as now it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, and I think right now, if you're Puerto Rico, I mean, you could bring back in Arson and try to play that Winston here again. We're getting bans coming in though. Costa Rica going to be banning out the Tracer going into this map. So Flakies apparently showed enough that last map on the Tracers that they don't want to see it. And they're also getting it away from Kixo as well, who I go back to Watchpoint Gibraltar even a little bit last map. I thought they did a really good job on it. Never mind, we're being told to ignore bans because it's supposed to be Puerto Rico getting the first ban here. I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
I don't.
South American.
These players like to joke with us.
Yeah, they we'll see that, but yeah, it should be Puerto Rico that would be banning out first. So right now they're kind of tugging at their collars, realizing they know we're gonna ban now. But we'll see
again, if we do see the.
Oh, go ahead. Good.
Yeah. But if we do see the sub come in here for Puerto Rico, it would be very fun. Again, we know how good this player is. It would be very fun to see him on this roster right now because I do think it would help him. Costa Rica, though, I mean, Hunter, we've very rarely seen some swaps from Costa Rica. I believe we saw Hodelo in one of the first show matches. Haven't seen him really since. Benji and Wed have been doing a really good job, or Benji and Wed, or Wed Tube, as they have another account. Have been very solid throughout this one here. I think you're really starting to see Costa Rica solidify their roster here, at least at the support line, especially if you do have Hodelo come back for them. They would have a very, very strong one.
Yeah, they really would. Hodelo had some really strong moments before, and it'd be really exciting to see, because it's worth saying that there are definitely a couple of different names in here in terms of that, but but obviously, we'll see what the case is going to be right now as we're waiting for the ban coming in for Puerto Rico on this one. As the Tracer ban, yes, indeed, does exist. Tracer is real. It is in your closet with a pulse bomb. But, I mean, considering what we saw that last map, what would you realistically do here if you are Puerto Rico from everything you've witnessed and had to deal with thus far?
I honestly think you just come back out on the Winston. I mean, even that is bring back in someone like Arson. And yeah, even if you bring someone back in like Arson, just to get a little bit more playing time, especially on a map like this, Winston, I feel like finds a lot of value. You could play D.Va here. Haven't seen any D.Va at all as they were banned out map 1, and really the last 2 maps haven't been a good fit for D.Va, even though I talked about it a little bit there for them in Sarabasa. Being able to see it, you just didn't really expect it. But it looks like Puerto Rico going to be banning out the Domina here, not going to be giving it to Artorias again here. And hey, we can, I believe, now confirm we will be seeing a sub come in here for Puerto Rico. Out goes Flakies, in comes Talisman. And again, I saw this a little bit earlier in chat. Someone was saying it's weird not seeing this Puerto Rican team without Talisman. Well, they're here now, and it could be a big turnaround for them because we know how good of a player Talisman is.
Talisman has been a phenomenal player to witness for quite some time of us covering this region. Has managed to honestly accomplish a lot of things. We know them at least kind of prolifically in more recent times. We kind of look, as we saw them a little earlier, back on that Dreamland squad, which honestly felt unstoppable for the longest time. Ended up placing third in the most recent season of North America Master for Face League, and has their own stuff coming up here, as they're going to be playing for a potential OWCS spot coming up in the very near future. But obviously, going to see what they can bring to the table here as we head into our fourth and potentially final map, counting on them to try to pull this one to a fifth and final map.
Going to Nighttime Esperanza as well here for what could be our final map of this series. And granted, it's been a really good series for these two teams. Puerto Rico getting off to a really good start on Watch Point Gibraltar, and I think Costa Rica really taking that momentum back in Lijiang, carrying it over into Surabasa as well. I think you saw a little bit of indecisiveness from Puerto Rico last map. I think if they are able to solidify a comp very early on or make swaps early on in this map, it's going to be a little bit better for them. But now, as teams can pick lineups here in a brief moment, it's going to be interesting to see what heroes we see, because do we see Dive come back out here from Puerto Rico, or do they stick with really running, I feel like with God Baby coming in, something pokey?
Yeah, I think we'll see what the situation is, because you could opt to go down potentially the double Winston route here. Obviously we saw it from our Taurus earlier, and it looked pretty good. We didn't get to see it really from God Baby, but yes, very much so. But we'll see what the case is going to be momentarily here, as I think not many people being honest right now.
I think the only people being honest right now might be the DPS line for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, maybe Curly's also being a little honest here. We did see them on the Wuyong earlier on, but we'll see, as I think we're seeing a little more honesty right here. Talisman being over the fire would be interesting. We have seen that on a couple of occasions in the past, so I'm excited to see how things are going to start from here.
And again, you see Puerto Rico coming out. Papa Joe, I thought they were going to be sticking with the Juno. Looks like they're changing their mind, going over to the Kiriko instead. And I think at this point right now, if you're Puerto Rico, you kind of now need to wait for Papa Joe to come back into this fight a little bit here. Talisman, though, trying to take this off angle on the Pharah. Again, you have Kale to watch out for. Really turn it on last map with the hit scans. Oh, almost takes care of Talisman early on here.
But yeah, almost turns into a definitive yes. Has taken care of Talisman, who tried to go really aggressive in that back line. Doesn't work out too well. It's got to be on the Sigma. She's going to be cut down. This is going to be a really quick fight here for Costa Rica. And now you're seeing the reset here as everyone low, and Kitzo is still cutting down bodies one at a time.
And I honestly thought we could have seen a little quick swap there from Talisman, but no, they're going to stick on the Pharah here. And again, I think Pharah might actually be a little bit of a sneaky good pick against the Vendetta. A lot of burst damage, you can definitely get around the block, but you have to be watching out for Kale, because like I said, they really came alive last map on this Sode, so it's going to be really hard for God Baby, though, on this Sigma. Needs to be able to clean up kicks when they hit the accretion, but they're giving up 4 spawns in a minute 15.
Yeah, that's quicker than I think we've seen maybe ever. At the very least, in quite a long period of time. Papa Joe is going to be forced out here, but you're able to fight this corner now. You want to take advantage of that little poke you can get from the Sigma. So Artorius is building up all of that energy, trying to burn down God Baby, who is struggling to hang in there, stay alive. But with Hitso being gone, this is going to open up the door a little bit here, as once you gather your resources, your health back, you need to push on these corners. You already see them backing out a little bit here.
Yeah, again, like I've said in the past, when you lose one part of the Zarya Vendetta comp, you kind of just back out. Especially in these forward spawns, you know the Vendettas get back pretty quickly. And look, Kale not that far away from their overclock. Wed not that far away from a consumer, so this could be a really quick re-engage here for Costa Rica. And God Baby definitely needs a lot of support on this front line. And Talisman is really gonna have to be the one that gets to the ball, also playing away from Kale. Woo!
Yeah, and Kale has been so difficult to deal with. And now speaking of difficult to deal with, God Baby is getting ran down right now. Grecian to kind of stem the bleeding a little bit, stay alive. But to let that Kitsune rush, which obviously gives them a little bit more space to deal with. But everybody from Puerto Rico hanging in there, staying alive. Talisman is getting pressure, is getting chased out. Eventually, Kale going to track him down, and this is going to cause for this lead to start extending even further here. You're trying to keep everybody alive, and Kale overplays their hand a little bit here as Tenoblast thrown in. The aggression coming through, bursting bodies down. God Baby finds 2 more. And now this fight at least should come to an end, but you still have bodies hanging in there as that cart headed the other way.
Yeah, but a really smart thing that Costa Rica did, they got the forward spawns. They understood that fight was lost, but they got the forward spawns. Everyone now going to be able to quickly come back in. However, a little bit of a costly fight there for Costa Rica. You invested the overclock, you invested the consumer rush. Granted, Wed2 got up to another, halfway to another one. But the same thing there, both support ults gone now for Puerto Rico as well. So you're really banking a lot on this flux, and this really, I think, the barrage here from Talisman to be able to find one or two early picks has eventually already invested the beat.
Yeah, and that Gravitas ready, and that barrage coming through to help save the day. Talisman gets rid of 2. Disruption comes through. Kale gonna try to at least get one Force Mono, but Talisman finishes their 3rd of the fight. And that is just a glimpse of what Talisman is able to do in this DPS role.
Yeah, and now though, look at that. You only have one ultimate ready for each side. Sunring Blade for Costa Rica. The Flux ready to go here for God Baby. I think without the beat now on the other side, you're really looking at Wed2 to be able to keep a lot of people alive with Suzu when that comes out, or hoping that Kale or Kixo is able to find God Baby out early on here. But Ander, yeah, they got that fight started with a huge opening. They didn't allow Talisman to get going. There's the Flux. Gonna be able to capture 2 right there.
Yeah, now Under has to be really careful where they decide to stand. You gotta give up this ground a little bit here, because eventually you're gonna see this aggression coming through. You go to the top rope. Talisman cut down for a moment, but gets that care pretty much immediately, as this is such a defining fight as to whether you get these forward spawns. We're not trying to build all these things away, and Artorias cut down with the accretion, as unfortunately Wed not able to get out of there, as the cap going to come through, and now you're in good territory to take this lead over.
You're gonna probably get the lead here, but you might honestly just have to get off the cart the moment you do, because Talisman fell in that fight, and you still have Kixo, and I believe Benji's hanging in that back, and they're gonna go diving in, and now, ooh, Purely somehow alive, but they're not gonna be alive much longer.
Yeah, now you're seeing Kitso just started cutting down body after body here. Cleanse is not gonna do a thing for you here, as Cut Baby just says no. Honestly, understand the response.
Looks like they're mad about the pings here right now, which is maybe something they can make an argument about here. But again, I feel like there's a weird engagement there for Puerto Rico, especially leaving 2 members of Costa Rica behind. Because look, they didn't even get forward spawns, everyone did. That's one big kind of mistake right there. And now Costa Rica's adding on to their lead. Look at the ultimates they have here. Overclock, Sundering Blade, not that far away from Beat. Purely the only ultimate ready to go here for Puerto Rico, but you're not that far away from the other stuff, as here comes the Blade.
Yeah, and Kababy loses a ton of health in that exchange right there, but still hanging around. He is alive. Still trying to cut it from the top rope, eventually forced out. As that lead is beginning to extend with under down, it's going to likely extend even further here as Kababy caught up in the room. This lead should get beyond that 100-meter mark. Hellman's trying to keep them alive in this one. He's just running out of care and needs to try to stay alive back here.
Right now, I was going to say, might have to regroup, but Talisman says, nah, we have to invest, and invest they do, finding Pixel out here, but that bot still moving.
Yeah, it's finally going to start heading back the other way, but everyone's going to be able to get the forward spawns here, even Artorias with that late death, and now you're going into a double rush in this fight, but Benji has the beat, and that extra bit of stability and sustainability is so important.
Yeah, but I think you really need to try to force it out here, whether it's with the overclock or whether it's with the tidal blast. You need to try to get that out here from Benji, so the Flux has that potential to really find a pick here. For right now, I have to watch Pixel here as they're already going in after God Baby on that high ground. Woo!
Yeah, that is a massive pick though. Speed is forced out right now. Papaton can be ran down. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink into this fight. Big burst down onto Artorias, who's going to be knocked into the mega health pack, but still no health remaining. If they're going to let this loose, God Baby going to hide behind the shield. It's going to go through. They're going to trade out with each other right here. Talisman a little lucky to still be standing, as eventually body's going to fall over. That bot at least going to get the forward spawns back.
You want to know the unfortunate thing though? God Baby spawned in just before they got the forward spawn. They are going to have to wait for him to make the long walk back here. They're going to try to get into this lead a little bit, but they're going to have to give it up at some point here, knowing God Baby is not going to be back very quickly at all. Purely though will get forward spawns. However, a very costly fight there for Puerto Rico, and again, you kind of needed to be one. You look over at Costa Rica though. Kitsune Rush, grab, ready to go. Nothing on the other side that can really slow down the grab now, unless God Baby eats it, essentially. So you're really banking a lot on a huge potential, a huge play that could come out from God, baby.
Yeah, now you're looking for that guy with the R Artorias, but you're willing to buy time a little bit here. As Consider Rush comes out, it's going to create a bunch of room. Everyone from Puerto Rico is going to have to back out of here, give up a little bit of this space to kind of pride this time away. But still, that Graviton Surge is going to be a constant force, but Tail gets taken out early. Tailspin's been getting the better of that 1v1 lately, as Bridge has to make a difficult decision whether to pull the trigger on this or not.
At this point, honestly, don't necessarily need to use it just yet. I think you hold on to it, build up some unless you really see an opportunity to use it. But Talisman decides to say, hey, we're going to invest again into this fight. But again, I think Artorias holding on to this grab is actually the right move. You look at the lead they have, the time on the time bank. You could honestly hold it for final fight, hold it for a fight where you see Puerto Rico getting very close to taking that lead, but you look at the ultimates now, the longer you hold on this grab, the more chance you get allowed purely. Papa Joe built up to the ultimates, which could potentially save this Puerto Rican team.
Yeah, this feels like the fight that you're going to pull in this trigger, try to make it as difficult as possible to actually survive through it right now. But this clock is still ticking away, a little less than a minute now on the board. This is going to be really critical if they don't manage to win this fight right here. This grab cannot be wasted. There's so much ready to go. Grab's going to be tossed out directly over onto only God, baby. And that's going to get nothing ultimately. You have to beat the sustain right here. It's going to come through. You lose Kitso though. Now all you can do is send in all this aggression. But God, baby has plenty of pair. It's going to come down to Kel to be able to shut this down right now. Eventually going to fall down as Andre going to try to bring it back the other way. Unfortunately, this is not going to be the case, and Puerto Rico need to reset immediately.
They need to reset immediately, and I think Costa Rica's doing the right thing with actually pushing the spot a little bit, but they're going to actually leave the forward spawns intact here, and now Talisman might be the only one that can realistically get a touch. However, I think overtime will commence no matter what here, and this has been an opportunity here for Puerto Rico. They've rotated into their ultimates. Four of them should be ready here. Well, you only have two on the other side. Southern played in with Kitsune, while Webtoon immediately starts off with the Kitsune.
Yep, and now you're going to have Philly over here ready to go. Going to set it, and they just don't touch the freaking point.
Oh, that's a rough way to end this series. That's a really rough way, because like I said, Puerto Rico was rotating into their ult bank, their really good ults as well, and honestly, all they needed to do was probably have one good team fight victory right there, and you would have been able to probably take the lead. You would have seen Costa Rica make some last-second desperation swaps, but I felt like Puerto Rico would have been in the home stretch there to at least extend this series to another map. But again, another good showing here by Costa Rica. Started off a little bit sluggish. Puerto Rico, I think, really caught them off guard, but then those last three maps, they looked incredibly good throughout it. Is there going to be one more map? Because everyone's still here.
Everyone is still kind of hanging out. Everyone just says GG's, but no one has said a word yet about anything else. Everyone's still here. I mean, we'll see momentarily. Everyone's still here, but I think it's like, maybe this is like a, if you go to a big family gathering, you don't want to be the first person to leave. You don't know the moment you leave, you're gonna start the trend of everybody leaving. So we'll see in a moment what the case is gonna be, as it looks like we are starting to see bodies beginning to drop here.
Yeah, but again, I think overall, a really good series for both these two teams. I think Puerto Rico, they did show us a lot here, showed us a lot of potential. And even with the two swaps, Arson and Godbaby, I think Godbaby got off maybe to a little bit of a slow start, but really looked a lot better on this second map that they played. Arson, I think they looked really good in their two maps they showed us. Papa Joe and crap, I'm forgetting their name. I mean, the support line for Puerto Rico looked good. Ander, Talisman, and Shakies looked good throughout this entire, or Flakies, my bad, looked really good. But Costa Rica, again, this is kind of what we expected from them in this series. They've shown us a lot, and now I believe this is either their fifth or sixth show match that we've been able to do for them. They've looked really good in all of them, and again, is one of the main reasons why we talk about them being one of probably the best teams that isn't locked in, and especially has a good opportunity to make it through those wildcard games, or wildcard rounds.
Yeah, no, 100%. They feel like one of the teams that's really easy to be confident about in that aspect. and I'm excited to see what they can do. But it feels like this is also, while as dominant as they were at times, it feels like this is the most vulnerable we've seen them as well in terms of any of the show matches that we've been able to witness them thus far. And this says a lot about Puerto Rico. I think Telsman, made a big impression going in there. Maybe started a little bit slow, but I think especially that second half had a real hold on that lobby. Papa Joe, obviously extremely impressive on that Ana earlier on as well. Was clicking heads like they were a hit scan. It was fantastic to see. So I think there's every reason to be confident in both of these teams because there's a long time for them to continue adjusting, to continue getting better. And while nothing's locked in for these squads, I think the confidence in these players, it really should be enunciated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, we talk about a lot here. These aren't the official squads just yet. Costa Rica, though, I feel like you could almost say it's very, very close to being there since we've only seen about the same 5-7 players throughout the entirety of all these show matches. Puerto Rico, though, I think they have a lot of good opportunities here to get a couple more players in through it all a little bit. But if they said like, hey, the 7 we have here throughout the series are going to be the 7 we have, I wouldn't necessarily bat an eye to that to their lineup here for them. But again, it's gonna be really fun to see these teams get a couple more show matches under their belt, even if it's again with Puerto Rico going up against Costa Rica. I think that'd be a really fun one to see again. But my feeling is they're gonna want to try to continue to play some more of these other countries here, especially across the Americas.
Yeah, and I think once you really see a lot of these rosters start to get solidified, that you're going to see these World Cup show matches start to come to form a lot more than previous times. So obviously, we're extremely excited about that. We don't know exactly when the next one is going to be. Obviously, we'll try to share it as soon as we can once we have something lined up. The only thing we have left going on this weekend, or at least myself will figure things out from there, but Team Chile is doing the 3rd day of their tryouts tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST. That's going to be obviously pretty exciting. Have enjoyed the first couple of days of it. Excited to see them again tomorrow. But in terms of everything, Dex, it's been an extremely long day.
Long day for you.
It has been a very long day. I have not stepped away from this computer very much today. A very unhealthy lifestyle. Do not do this at home, kids. At the end of the day, though, it's exciting to watch all these players, and I could not be happier that we've done this.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's always fun to be able to cast these show matches and cast all these teams who are doing a lot for this World Cup. And but before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to OBS Kachow for coming in and really helping us out here tonight by being our observer, as she's still currently sharing her screen and petting the cat.
Yeah, honestly, pay homage to the cat. Take care of the cat. It's important. It's extremely important. But yes, obviously, big shout out was a big help here today. But obviously, like I said, it's a long night. We're going to close things out here. So again, want to thank y'all for coming out tonight, for supporting us, for just honestly supporting the scene here with the World Cup. I'm excited for the year to develop further and further as more dates and more things become official. So we hope to see you then for that. For everybody, have yourselves a fantastic night. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for some more of the Team Chile tryouts. But if not, have yourself a fantastic weekend. Take care.